Be careful what I'm saying.
I think she means we're live.
Are we live?
There it is.
There it is. Now
That's the cue. We're on. Welcome to a new edition. This is Wednesday already. We're just moving along. Luds is back in studio for one day only. And it's Devil's Day. That's right. We have a former star, now a New Jersey Devil. We'll talk about that if you saw the thumbnail. And everything else. A couple of great guests today. Mike Morreale, Kristy Flannery. Make sure I get that right.
Hold on.
Thank you. Let's do it now. Let's do it live.
Get it ready, boys.
Or whatever. I should have known that was coming. Yeah. That was my the mute button's not working. Don't talk. Kat set us up because that was my bad version of David. He doesn't even know who David Putty is.
Hilarious.
Mike, our first guest will be shocked, I'm sure, as much as Luds is. Craig Ludwig, George Costanza.
How are you still George Costanza in this?
Owen
Only
Dicker
in this
here.
room.
Kat is our producer today. Today's New Jersey Devils Day of the Other 31, our summer series where we talk and bring on guests from the other 31 NHL franchises. Wednesday, August 6th. This is the DLLS Stars podcast. We did that completely backwards, but let's get right to our first guest. Mike Morreale is the senior draft writer for NHL.com, but don't forget, he also knows a sure lot about the New Jersey Devils, which is why we wanted to bring him on. And Sam knows him, which... Mike, let's start with that.
Oh, no.
Can you believe, knowing Sam, that he has no idea about Seinfeld?
What? No idea about Seinfeld. Come on.
Sam is in his mid-30s, and he's never watched
Oh, easy with the
Seinfeld.
mid-30s, all right? 32.
You have to have watched a few episodes, no? Nothing?
No, I was more Friends and King of Queens, those other type of
Wow.
sitcoms, but I'll have to watch it. I keep hearing that I should. Is this still good now if I watch it
It
now?
still holds up,
All right, I'll do it.
especially if you're a Devils
I
fan.
remember watching Seinfeld when he was on Johnny Carson. That's how far back I go, too. Yeah.
That's not even that's not the top of the ladder either, Mike. He's still a virgin too. We heard.
That's
Yeah, so it all adds up.
All right, Sam, you are from the state of New Jersey. You're in your 30s and somehow never saw Jerry Seinfeld. But you get to lead off with Mike today because this is Devil's Day.
Sure. Mike, pretty simple first question for you. A couple of years ago, the stories were pretty straightforward with the Devils. Their goaltending took a huge dive with Vanacek. The injuries just absolutely devastated them. What is the story from last season that we should know about the New Jersey Devils?
Look, I mean, injuries played a big part in what we saw last year with New Jersey, Sam. I think when you look at the regular season and what Sheldon Keefe wanted to provide for this team and push with this team, I think you saw it start to formulate and come together maybe a quarter of the way through the season. And they were able to establish themselves and gain some points and make that playoff push, which they ultimately did to gain a playoff spot. But let's face it, this is a team that wasn't able to string together more than 3 consecutive wins in a row last year. So there was some very inconsistent play. I thought defensively they shut her down pretty good. I mean, Markstrom played a huge role in that. I think Jake Allen as a backup when Markstrom went down with an injury for a few games, Allen, came in and did the job he needed to do. But look, guys, it's time for this team to take another step, right? I mean, look, Nico. I looked at this today. Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt are entering their 9th season this year. Jack Hughes is entering his 7th. Isn't that kind of like crazy when you think of it that way?
You still think of them as kids, especially Jack.
Yeah. And Jack's only played more than 62 games once in his his first 6 seasons, because of the shoulder injuries and whatnot, what might have, happened to him. Look, the expectations are high, guys, from ownership on down. New Jersey was a little derailed by some injuries. They got into the Cup playoffs, really, all things considered, and the injuries sustained. They played well against Carolina, but they just didn't have enough to get through that series. This season, and you always got to count on the good fortune health-wise, but the idea is they want to push further into the spring. I'm willing to give them one more year here, one more shot, Sam. It's just one of those situations, and I think you guys would agree. There's so much talent. There is talent on this team. If you believe in the roster and believe in what Tom Fitzgerald has done and some of the moves he's made, I think you've got to give them, one more year. And this is a year where the Metro Division is certainly there for the taking, in my opinion. Carolina's the top, is still the cream of the crop. Washington pushed last year. I'm still uncertain. Let's see how they do this year. The Rangers, who knows, with Sully there. But I think this is a year the Devils can really push, guys.
Mike, you mentioned Jack Hughes. Is it getting to be a concern? Because he hasn't, like you said, the most he's ever played is 60 some games. So is there a concern about him being the guy there and only playing, 3/4 of a season?
No, it's a fair question, Luds, and it's a question that I asked Devils assistant GM Dan McKinnon a couple weeks ago. Jack Hughes needs to be in the lineup. The 1 year he played, over 62 games, I believe he played 73, 74 games. That's the year they reached the second round of the playoffs. And we all know what he did against the New York Rangers. He had 99 points in the regular season. The Devils need Jack Hughes in the lineup. Now, he's had surgery on both shoulders. So you would think that, once you get that surgery done, he's gone through rehab. This offseason, we've seen plenty of Instagram shots of him practicing with former NHL athletes. You saw Patrick Kane out there. And speaking of Patrick Kane, I remember sitting down with Jack last year, guys, and asking him, it's such a, how do you remain healthy as a player that's 5'10", 5'11", maybe, 175, 180. And I said, have you spoken to Patrick Kane about possibly learning the nuances of where to go, how to navigate in the corners? Because Jack is that type of player, and he was always this way at the National Team Development Program. He wants to push. He wants to go into the tough areas of the ice to show that he can do that. And he is tough, but he's a smaller player. And when you're going up against those bigger defensemen, sometimes, the result isn't going to be what you want it to be. So he's going to have to learn. And I think now in his seventh season, that maybe that's coming around, guys, and he'll be able to understand and know that he needs to stay on the ice, needs to stay healthy. And let's face it, the Devils also needed to provide some more depth to get that scoring. So he's not going out there maybe 25, 26 minutes a game.
Yeah. I do actually have one more Jack Hughes question for you, Mike, because and this is probably half from a USA Hockey fan, half versus an NHL broadcaster take. Because when we watched Team USA play, and Jack was part of that at the Four Nations, I was disappointed with his play, personally. I don't know if you agree or disagree. I thought he was a bit, especially on the U.S. power play, a bit of a perimeter player. And then the first game back was against the Stars to the NHL schedule, and he had a couple power play goals against Dallas. I know the Stars won the game, but he looked like a different player. And I looked at Luds and said, why do you think it's a difference? He goes, because it's easier. It's the intensity of the Four Nations was so much harder. And you were just talking about Jack being willing to go to the hard areas, and I'm not calling him out because I think his talent is off the charts. We've seen it. But he wasn't the only one. There were other U.S. guys that didn't show out well and others that did. But I was surprised to see that at the Four Nations, he didn't look like the player that we saw in the NHL.
No, that's fair. That's fair, Owen, to say that. And I think people were disappointed, particularly Devils fans. They did say, where is the Jack Hughes? But let's face it, wasn't given probably the time on ice that maybe he would have liked, but maybe that's a result of him being maybe a smaller player and not fitting into a type of system that USA Hockey wanted to run at the time. Now, obviously, Jack Hughes is an exceptionally talented player, one of the best skaters in the NHL. But it was watching him in Four Nations was one of those things where you knew that unless he was playing on that speed line or the pace was really being pushed, he wasn't going to have much of an impact in a tournament like that, with the big players, with the crashing and grinding and what it was all like, in the corners. So once he gets back to the NHL with his unit, with, maybe lines that he's more, accustomed to, the coaching style, I think that's where you saw the benefit and what he was able to produce with the Devils. I think, Jack Hughes is a creature of habit too. He's always going to push the pace. He's always going to want to be that, have that highlight reel that's out there. When he doesn't do that, he gets disappointed. So most of the time, and I think Sheldon Keefe has kind of ingrained this in him. And I got to admit, guys, I think Lindy Ruff did a little bit of this too before he left the Devils. Jack is more, wanted to become more that two-way player. And I think Lindy Ruff and Sheldon are trying to instill that in him, that, yes, you're a center. We need your offense, but we need you also coming back as well from time and again as a centerman to help us out in the transition. And I think Jack is in that learning stage too, but this is the year when it's all got to come together for him.
Yeah, I'm going to stay on Jack Hughes, but I'm just looking at his numbers, and Mike, you're exactly right. I mean, if you look, the 1 year you were talking about, he played 78 and had 43 goals.
Yeah.
He's a 40-goal scorer if he can play a full season. Last 2 years were almost identical, 62 games, 27 goals, and 74 and 70 points. So my question to you is, I was reading an article in The Athletic about the best contracts in the NHL, and number one on that list was Jack Hughes. With everything we're talking about, we know the skill, everything that is there. With the injuries, though, do you agree with that?
That the contract is where it should be? Or?
Yeah, is the best in the NHL, is the way that it was viewed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. That's a good question, Sam. Yes, I would say yes, because of the talent we know that Jack Hughes can be, and for the numbers that you just, put forth when he is healthy. When Jack Hughes is healthy, he's dominant. He's a dominant player. He can play with anyone on any line. Obviously, it's nice to have the Timo Meiers of the world and those type players. And Jesper Bratt, who, by the way, Jack Hughes, when he and Jesper are clicking and on really swinging it and getting into that offensive groove, Jack likes to call it's like with peanut butter and jelly. So yeah,
Fun to watch.
It's definitely something that. I do like obviously you have to like the contract as a Devils fan, and now it's a matter of getting his brother in house, as he's under contract, as an RFA, and what they put forth, and the Devils are trying to see what the Luke Hughes camp is going to come back with. But I think the contract was fantastic for the Devils when they got it at the time. When you look at the numbers now, it's certainly one of the best in the league. And for the talent when he's a healthy player, and particularly in the playoffs, I think Jack Hughes, that contract is fantastic.
Well, since we're talking about forwards, there's times I hear Timo Meier's name being mentioned. He needs to be better, needs to be more. I'm not sure if they're talking playoff performance, but do you agree? By you're nodding your head, I'm guessing you agree with that. I mean, looking, he's got 26, 28 goals in a couple of the seasons. I think one of them he might have been hurt, or came over shortly. But I mean, do you agree with that assessment of Meier?
Look, you know what, Luds? I like what Meier has done with the Devils. If you look at his numbers in the regular season, and let's face it, and you know this, I mean, if you're a power forward, you're asked to do a lot more other things in addition to being an offensive contributor to a team. Timo Meier is that type of player. He's the type of guy that's going to stand in the slot, is going to take the hits, the swats with the sticks, and he's going to do the dirty work, the grunt work for you. That's how he scores a majority of the goals. But I tell you, when he's pushing down wing and drives a shot out of the circle, it's one of the heavier, harder shots in the league. So I believe he had another 53-point season last year. This team, if healthy, should score a lot, and I think that's where the question arises. Where is the secondary scoring coming from the Devils? And And obviously, Timo Meier, you need to depend on him to get you that secondary scoring. Timo Meier, to me, too, is one of those fantastic playoff performers, particularly in the Eastern Conference, because if you recall, guys, against the Rangers, he was the guy that was doing a lot of that dirty work, pushing the pace. He was playing physical in the face of a lot of players during the playoffs. He loves playoff hockey. But, Timo is that guy, since he's come over from San Jose, and, you always think of those early days, now there's a bigger sample size with him on the Devils. Those early days are kind of gone. I just thought it's a tricky transition for him because you go from San Jose where you're the puck dominant player and there's really nobody else on the team. And they were trending towards the rebuild at that point. And then you come over to New Jersey and you got 3 or 4 puck dominant guys. And I think, he's the type of guy that's been lost in the lineup, so to speak, in some ways. But if he can step up and be that old Timo that everyone knows, that could be the simple fix to the offense starting to click and really fill the back of the net.
We have a lot more to get to with Mike Morreale in just a moment here on the DLLS Stars podcast, so don't go anywhere. We will continue to talk with Mike in just a second.
I'll go. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home flooring advantage. And Empire Today can help. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they're with you every step of the way. Get your measurements taken and have all your questions answered so there are no more surprises. With Empire Today, you get a clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule just that little installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLL listeners can receive a $350, Sam, $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. That's right, Sam. $350.
That's a lot.
Sam discount with a code. That's a Sam Sam discount code with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today for full details. Go ahead and follow that one up, Sam.
What was the last part of that?
It says restrictions apply. Follow. Don't you know how you can speed talk?
Yeah.
Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today for full details. I'm trying to get you to 1 minute. There you go.
There you go. Go, Sam. Go.
All right. Well, let's talk about Monarch Money. Finances can be messy and confusing, but Monarch Money acts just kidding. I'm not going to do that. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility of everything in one place so you can stop earning and start growing. More than just your average budgeting app, Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for accounts, investments, and goals. So you get a snapshot of everything and makes it super simple to track your money, earn, and grow your money. Don't just manage it, start building, and with 50% off your first year for all DLS listeners. Without a clear financial picture, your dreams can feel out of reach, but Monarch Money makes managing money simple. Finance tool people actually love. You can join over 1 million households. Named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code DLLS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DLLS. The bottom of my foot is cramping.
Really?
Yeah. I got it.
Gotta love Sam cramping up over an ad read.
Mid-ad read.
Let's bring Mike back on. Mike, there's so much to get to, but a guy that we've gotten very used to around Dallas is Evgenii Dadonov. 2.5 years. He was a Pete DeBoer guy. When you saw 1 year, $1 million signing with the Devils in free agency, I couldn't help but think that if DeBoer was still the Stars head coach, he might still be here because that's a very, very inexpensive number for a 20-goal scorer like Dadonov, who at point last year, we didn't think he was going to get to 20, and then he had a really hot finish. But what is the expectation from your perspective on what Dadonov brings to the Devils lineup?
Yeah, and I think Dadonov has a good chance to crack the top 6 for New Jersey this season. Obviously, you mentioned there, he's a 5-time 20-goal scorer, has scored a career-high 28 goals twice. I like the signing here, and it's basically just to give some of these other guys that we were talking about earlier some support. I could see, Dadonov playing with the Dawson Mercer in the middle. There's a rookie coming in that could have a major impact in Arseny Gritzik. Maybe he's playing with him on a third line role. Maybe he's pushed to a second line with Hischier and Timo Meier. That would be quite the line. But then again, Dadonov is there too to help bring along some of these young players as well. And I can also see him playing with a Cody Glass, who the Devils re-signed this offseason, in a Paul Cotter. So Dadonov is that type of player that can fill in so many different roles. He can scale a lineup. He can score some big goals. He has some playoff experience, as we saw in Dallas. And he's just a player that is a sponge. And you know, he'll listen to what the coaching staff has to say and do what they want of him. So that's the type of player that I think Sheldon Keefe wants on his team. It's a reason why Keefe, you know, when he saw that he might be available, thought that this would be a great acquisition for the Devils at this time. I think it's a great pickup, Owen, what the Devils did here for Dadonov.
All right, Mike, I'm going to go back to the Hughes brothers. I
Again?
feel like you can't tell the other one.
Okay.
University of Michigan, man, college hockey player. Luke Hughes is kind of the main topic right now in New Jersey. What's the latest, and what are some of the potential trickle-down effects with his contract that we've been hearing about?
Yeah, I mean, Luke is 21 now, was extended a qualifying offer, allowing the Devils to retain his negotiating rights for this season. So Tom Fitzgerald said locking Hughes remains his priority during his, his media scrum during development camp. So a potential Hughes contract would also dictate the cap space New Jersey has for additional maybe off-season moves. We will see. He's looking to get paid well after a decent 2+ seasons in the NHL. He's clearly dynamic, right, Sam? And we haven't seen the best of Luke Hughes yet, in my opinion.
Yep.
A new trend is to pay positions, especially young defensemen, for future value. You look at Cale Makar signing for $9 million per season on a 6-year deal, just 2 years into his career. Brock Faber, who beat out Luke Hughes in the Rookie of the Year voting, signed an 8-year, I believe it was $68 million after his rookie season. So the Devils obviously want Luke Hughes to kind of do the same thing. And New Jersey's in a holding pattern as we head into the final few months here in the off season. And there's a few reasons for this, mainly that, the true top 6 talents weren't available to the Devils this off season. And they still haven't been able to negotiate that deal with Luke Hughes. So we'll see. Something's on the table. I think Devils fans are anxiously awaiting to see the result of that. We'll see where this kind of trickles in, because there are a few defensemen I was looking at that with the numbers that maybe Luke Hughes ties into, and Brock Faber being one of them. You look at Owen Power at 7 years, 8.3 per season. Like these are defensemen that were locked up by their respective teams not long after their rookie entry level deals.
Anything, Mike, to the little bit of rumors about Dougie Hamilton potentially being an issue with this Luke Hughes contract?
No, Hamilton is an interesting scenario too, because you keep hearing rumors about Dougie Hamilton, and if he's in those trade rumors, I don't know if the rumors are true, but we've heard them, and they do have a lot of defensemen on the back end upcoming. Anton Salayev is one of them who we expect to be in the lineup next season. I wonder if that's less New Jersey dangling him and more teams maybe calling and being interested in Dougie Hamilton and thinking, okay, how can we pry a top pairing defenseman? Because if you're a team that needs that, you're looking around the league and you're thinking, who'd be willing to give up one? It doesn't seem like there's enough smoke there that something is imminent, but the name has certainly been out there. And when you connect the dots, there is some sense to be made of it. I think with those young guys coming up, Sam, you want him as a bit of a shield. You want him to kind of take the pressure off them a little bit. I think when healthy, he's still a really good defenseman in this league. If I'm the Devils, I'm keeping him. I'm going into next year, hitting the reset button and playing him as my number 1 D. And one of the things I always appreciate about Dougie Hamilton is his ability to get pucks on net from the point, for rebounds, for chances in the slot. Hamilton has that gift for whatever reason. He gets 9, 10, 11 shots a game. It's because he can generate those pucks on net from the point. And that's a valuable asset to have.
Okay,
you want Dougie Hamilton here?
Yeah, let's talk Dougie Hamilton. No, Mike, I think Fitzy's done a good job, obviously, of shoring that up. And, I mean, the team you mentioned, I think they're in the top 5 goals against wise. Pesci, Dillon, who I've always liked Brendan Dillon. I've always wondered why Dallas got rid of Brendan Dillon, but that ship has sailed. Is Dougie the number one defenseman? Is he the number one defenseman on this team?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question, Luds. I mean, I would think with the experience that Hamilton has, his longevity and what he's been able to do. I know he's been nicked up a few years here in Jersey, but right now, I guess you would have to consider him the number one D. Look, I look at it this way too. How many number one defensemen are there really? Of the 32 teams, I can tell you there's probably not 32 number one defensemen. So is Dougie Hamilton what the Devils need as a number one right now when you look at it? Yes. I like Brendan Dillon a lot, Luds. I'm with you. This is a guy that has so much character, so much class. He'll do whatever it takes for the team to win, stick up for teammates. And not only that, as a media member, the guy's like golden in the locker room.
He's amazing, huh?
He's golden. Luke Hughes is looking to maybe take that mantle at some point in his career, but not yet. Brett Pesci is solid. He's he's in the middle of the defensive lineup there. Siegenthaler is good. Jonathan Kovacevic took a step forward last year when they brought him over from Montreal. But right now, I would say if you were to say to me, and you asked, who is the number one defenseman, I would have to say it is Dougie Hamilton, and still until someone else takes that mantle.
I've always kind of wondered even how you rate defensemen now, like what's number one. I look at a guy like in his prime, like Pietrangelo. I mean, now that guy played at both ends of the rink. You know what I mean? And because I've seen Dougie, his foot speed, like sometimes it seems like he's got cement boots on. I let him know that I would love to race him from the goal line to the blue line. But anyway, because again, the offensive thing, I agree. I mean, he can get pucks to the net. He's got quick hands. He's got vision and things like that. It's just some things for me. And again, I don't get to watch 80 games, but some things when I watch the game, some of it's suspect. But I do like I said, I love what Fitzy's done. I don't know what your opinion is, how Tommy's handled the rebuild or not the rebuild, shoring this team up.
I agree with what Fitzgerald has done. I'm disappointed that they were only, a 91-point team and offered Carolina nothing really in the playoffs. How much of that do you blame on, Jack Hughes and the unhealthy players they had? But I believe in what Fitzy has built here and that it's going to pay dividends at some point, Luds. I don't want to rip Fitzgerald just for the purpose of not fulfilling the potential of the club, only having 91 points. At some point, it's got to get done on the ice, though. We know that. I still think they're building something good here in Jersey. Still think they have some youth that's going to continue to evolve. And I think this framework for a very good hockey team is still here. Maybe I have to give them, as I said earlier, one more year to show me that. They're still on that path. But, as far as last year concerned, I would say maybe a B- for what their season finished because, Fitzy made some big moves. I endorsed them at the time. I think we all endorsed them at the time. And I'm going to continue to do so. But I think Devils fans have seen this story over and over and over again. And they want to see some results, and I don't blame them.
Mike, one of the things we've been doing, and we really appreciate your time. It seems like it goes by way too fast, which is a sign of a great guest. But one of the things we've been doing with this series is asking each of our guests for their perspective of where the Dallas Stars are at. From what you see, this isn't a trick question. We're not trying to test your knowledge of the Dallas Stars. It's more of from an outsider's perspective, meaning not somebody that covers the Dallas Stars night and day like we do. What do you see?
Look, with everything that went on during the playoffs, guys, what was said, what was hurtful, the Stars were a pretty damn good team last year. So I agree with in a lot of ways of what Jim Nill, and I'm trying to reflect back on his post-mortem stuff that he had to say, that you have to be careful in how you change and tweak your team. I never thought this was a blow-up situation. A lot of the Stars' work was done back in February, and they continued to add the pieces around that. And let's face it, the Stars are looking for some internal growth as well. I am a huge Leon Bichelle fan. Love what he brought to the defense. I'm sure Luds loves the guy as well. What I would look when I'm looking at the Stars, second line left wing to skate with maybe Duchesne and Sagan, right? Sam Steele and Bach have the offensive skills to potentially slot in that spot, but are unproven as top six mainstays. So Dallas is close to the NHL salary cap ceiling, guys. I'm pretty sure of that. I don't have that numbers in front of me. It's possible that competition in training camp could be used to identify an internal candidate. But look, I love what Dallas does. I love the way Jim Nill goes about his business in creating this team. And it's going to be interesting to see Gulutzan back as a head coach. I'm a big fan. And let's see if he can get it back on track, particularly in the playoffs when they get there.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure, Mike, to have you on for the first time. Hopefully it won't be the last, because we didn't even get a chance to ask you about your
So many more questions.
World Junior Summer Showcase stuff that you've been paying
High
attention
School
to.
Hockey Hall of Fame.
Blake Fiddler playing for Team USA right now, or Vern's kid, and all the things. We didn't talk about Connor Brown or the Jake Allen contract, Stefan Noesen, who's from Plano. We'll have to do this again, but seriously, we love this. This is great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you carving out some time for us today.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Always, guys. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, there's Mike Morreale. He is the senior draft writer for NHL.com. Of course, covers the Devils acutely, as Sam knows. Great stuff.
That's great.
Up next, we'll talk to Kristy Flannery from the Hockey News. A lot more Devils stuff, and get into that and the Stars next here on DLLS.
First, we get to talk about a trip that the DLLS Stars crew is not going on.
Nope, we're not going on this trip.
DLLS Cowboys trip to Las Vegas.
What trip are we going on?
We are not going on any trip as of now. I think we are going to Hooters, but you're not coming. That's our excursion for the for the year.
Kayla in the chat just called Mike Jersey Mike.
Yeah.
I'm sure that joke has never been made ever before.
I love
right?
Jersey Mike's.
I'm telling you.
Good stuff. If you want Jersey Mike's, you know where they have it is Las Vegas.
Do we have a read?
Yeah.
Is this a Jersey Mike's read?
We
now?
are.
It could
We,
be.
as in the DLS Cowboys crew, is headed to Las Vegas with true fan travel for the ultimate fan experience. DLS has taken over the Strip for an unforgettable weekend in Vegas, and you need to be there. Join us as the Cowboys take on the Raiders on November 17th, Monday Night Football. This all-inclusive trip includes a 3-night stay at a luxury Vegas resort, game tickets, VIP parties, exclusive events with the ridiculously funny DLS Cowboys crew. That includes Jesse Holley, the one and only punt return, kick return specialist for the Cowboys, and fellow diehard fans, and much, much more. This is how Dallas does Vegas, so book now at truefantravel.com. There's more. We have some amazing merchandise on sale right now. I'm wearing one of them. Thank you for reminding me, and I'll point to the correct side. The DLLS Dallas collection is amazing. We have the shirt I'm wearing right there in the top left corner for the barbecue.
You know, Sam, I wore, because I'm like, oh, I can't just wear a work shirt to a social event. I wore the Nolan Ryan shirt to the Ranger game last night. Not one person commented. They did win.
Nice.
It was a great game.
2-0 against
Beat the Yankees.
Love that.
Sorry,
we got the
New
amazing
York.
Dallas versus all y'all shirt that Luds was wearing the other day. We have that horrifying mascot one, which I'm going to ask Ben for just because I have to. I have to see it in person. You can get all that and plenty more at alldls.com. So check out our store, plus many other shirts from the Stars playoff run last year. Go check it out now.
All right. Is it time? It is. Katya, our producer, said that Kristy Flannery from the Hockey News is there. There she is. Hi, Kristy. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
How are you?
We're doing very well. Mike was great and got us thinking, Luds, there's no way Dallas can fit Dougie Hamilton's $9 million on their salary cap. How would you possibly even start there?
I wouldn't be starting there.
Jason Robertson.
I'm good.
You're good. You don't want, but he has a no move anyway. It doesn't matter, right?
I don't like the boots.
No, he's got bad boots.
All right, Kristy, we have a lot to get to. Let's start with something I was going to ask Mike, but we didn't get to on him, which is, what do you see in, I can't believe it, it's been 6 years now since the Lou Lamoriello era ended, and Tom Fitzgerald, it was January of 2020, right before, like 2 months before the COVID shutdown. How much different are the New Jersey Devils from the Lou era?
I think towards the end of the Lou era, you didn't really see a core in New Jersey. You know, at some point you thought maybe it was Kyle Palmieri, maybe you thought it was Taylor Hall. And I think now you see that there's a core in New Jersey. They have their own version of the core four with Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, and Timo Meier. And I think that's kind of the biggest difference for me.
Do you feel like I don't know what I call a stigma, because that's sort of a negative connotation, but that there's an aura of difference? Because, keep hearing people saying this isn't your father's New Jersey Devils or something like that. But Lou, we all know, had his set way of how things are run and the rules that he put in place. And I know people that loved it. I know people that it wasn't for them. Yeah. Is that different now, 5-6 years into the Fitzgerald era?
I gotta be honest. I think that question actually would have been better for Mike. I got into hockey so late in life. So this is actually a much better question for Mike Morreale. I think that there are differences. I think even with the Islanders, when Lou was there, there's like you said, there's certain things about a Lou team that is just so unique to him. So there definitely have been changes since Fitzgerald has taken over. But yeah, definitely a Mike question, guys.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I'm up now.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you book Kristy. So
I'm going to give you a Kristy question. First of all, hi, Kristy. It's good to see you.
Hi, Sam. I never saw Seinfeld either.
Well, see? Oh, love it. Love it. Thank you. You're already my favorite. But I'm going to give you a full Kristy question here. You had the unique experience, I believe it was 2 years ago now, of going to Switzerland and hanging out with Nico Hischier. Tell us about that trip and what you learned.
Yeah, Switzerland Tourism got in contact with me, and they flew my husband and I both out there, and we explored Nico's home region in Switzerland. We were with him for a day, and we went to where he went to elementary school. We saw where he went to church every week. It was the best experience of my life. If you told me 10 years ago I would be flown to Switzerland to do a story for Nico, I'd say absolutely not. What you learn about them is, I think from a media perspective, you never see players interact with fans. And what I really learned from Nico is that there were 2 fans that were there that were with him for the day, and he showed so much interest in them. And he didn't just go through and kind of just go through what he was obligated to do. He wanted to learn more about them. And I thought that for me was just so great to see that he's genuinely just a good human being. And even at the end of the day, he told them, if you guys ever are at a Devils game, like shoot me a message on Instagram, like I'll come say hi after the game. And just, you could really learn a lot, I think, from the culture too, because there are so many differences when the European guys come to America, and you understand him more, you understand what he's about, and I think it actually helped me prepare questions for him in a different way.
Kristy, we have gone for about 40 minutes now, and we haven't even talked about the head coach.
That was my next question, Lutz.
It's about time.
You did it to me.
Yeah, okay. Your thoughts on Sheldon behind the bench this first year? I mean, he obviously comes in, being in a fishbowl in Toronto, and I guess the knock against him, which he doesn't have a long resume right now, but has always been in the playoffs. Not to be able to get past certain teams and get over the hump. So, how do you assess him after year 1 there?
I thought Sheldon did really well. I do agree. I know Elliot Friedman was kind of the first one to publicly say that Sheldon coming in, there might have been a little bit of a culture shock with some of the players, because I think Sheldon was a little bit more challenging than Lindy, in the respect that I think with Lindy, some guys might have had a longer leash than others. And I don't think there were players that maybe got away with certain things with Lindy that they weren't going to get away with under Sheldon Keefe. So I think there was an adjustment that had to go in, but I thought Sheldon was great. It's funny because when he got hired, a lot of Devils fans were like, oh, he's not a tough coach. And he actually is a very tough coach to have. So I think he did really well. The only question I had was in the postseason, the Devils' third line against Carolina really struggled, and he kept them together. He did switch out Daniel Sprong, I think, after game 1, but he kept Cotter, Noesen, and Glass together. And I was wondering at any point if he was going to make that switch to try and give a jump to that line. So that's kind of my only question I have, is maybe the hesitancy to maybe not change what you originally thought was going to be work and be effective. And that could maybe even go back to his time in Toronto with the Maple Leafs. But other than that, I think Sheldon was a really good coach. And I'm curious to see how they're going to go to camp this season, knowing what to expect of him.
He had that hilarious sort of line at the end of a press conference. I think it was post-game where somebody asked about Jonathan Kovacevic, and he said, well, Kovacevic needs to play better. And Luds, you and I were talking about this with Sam last year when we discussed the Berube switch in Toronto, saying he's intense, but then he can switch off and relax at times, which is probably good in that market, whereas Keefe is pretty intense all the time. Kristy, you kind of alluded to that. Do you think that was a bit of an adjustment period? And did you notice more of a maybe intense sort of, as you said, challenging coach in Keefe all of last year?
So what's really funny is, like, from my personal interactions, Sheldon and I got along very, very well. And even to talk to him, he was very helpful because I'm a student of the game. I absolutely have never played hockey, so I'm always trying to learn. And for me, Sheldon was a great resource because he always explained things so thoroughly to me. So I think with the press conferences, I mean, you guys know, sometimes you just got to read the room. Like, there's just certain things that's like, maybe I'll ask it now, maybe I'll wait till tomorrow's practice if it's not needed for my post-game story. But yeah, he's intense, but I've also seen the other side of him where he's really helpful. He'll give his time to certain people. And I had a really great relationship with him in his first year. So I have nothing but good things to say about him.
All right, I was going to ask Mike this because we were talking about the defense, but Seamus Casey, another Michigan guy. I thought he was going to have a little bit bigger of a role this past season. I think he played something like 14 or 15 games. Where is he at, and is he a big potential role on this team coming up in this season?
I think with Seamus, one, I think his vision is fantastic. He sees the ice so well, and he can skate. Like they always say, the legs feed the wolves. Like, he has that ability for him. And I think those are his two main advantages. I think, his size is always going to be something that's going to be questioned if he can handle going up against guys like Alex Tuck and Mason Marchment and these forwards that are a lot bigger on the forecheck with him. But this past season, when I talked to Seamus, he was saying that, they really want him to work on his box outs and kind of getting the puck out of the zone quicker. I don't think they're going to rush him. I think with Kovacevic sidelined to start the season, I think that open spot is kind of Nemec's to lose, but I think Seamus has the qualities to surprise, kind of like he did last year, because I think last year he surprised everybody making the roster and going and doing as well as he did.
How long is Kovacevic? I'm sorry, I should probably have looked this up ahead of time, but how long is Kovacevic expected to be sort of sidelined as he comes back from surgery?
They haven't given a date.
Really?
All we know, not going to be ready for training camp. I did reach out to see about a status update on him, but I haven't gotten a response back.
When did he have the surgery? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I believe he was going to have it right after exit interviews, but I could be, I'd have to go back and listen to his exit interview. I could be wrong, but I think it was around.
So, I mean, I find that interesting because I was reading your mailbag that you did on the Hockey News. You should check it out if you haven't read it already. And it was an interesting sort of discussion about Nemec and can he, as a 21-year-old, step into that role with the opening? It sort of feels like that opportunity. And you were asking about Casey, and I'm just looking at the group, and unlike the Stars, the Devils have a lot of right shot defensemen, which is a good problem to have. Dallas could use one or two, or maybe not. It depends, but it does sort of feel like there's one of those short windows of an opening if somebody needs to grab the reins before Kovacevic comes back.
Yeah. And I think, Nemec had a rough year last year. He kind of, for better or worse, he was a storyline in New Jersey last year. The expectation of him making the roster, him spending a lot of time in the AHL, and then coming back and having a phenomenal postseason. I think, I talked to a lot of people, a lot of former players, a lot of former coaches, even current coaches in different leagues about Nemec. And the thing that it always seems to come back to is playing with effort and playing with urgency. And to me, that's different than talent. Talent you can have, but you need the effort and you need the urgency when you're on the ice, and it has to be consistent. So I think for him, you're looking for that consistency from him. You're looking for the urgency every time he's on the ice. You're looking for that effort. And I think once all of those things come together, I think he's going to be a solid defenseman. It's just, going through that development and understanding that not everything works on your timeline. Like Sheldon Keefe told me, he has to kind of just embrace what the process is. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer.
Chris, you go, lads.
Since you go,
I was going to go.
That was not even a full sentence.
You're more than welcome.
You go. Hold on. I know Kristy's our guest, but how hard is that for a 21-year-old that has all the talent, but maybe still trying to figure out how to be a good pro?
Are we talking off the ice or are we talking on the ice?
Both, whatever.
Oh, well, I think it's always hard. It depends on what you're surrounded
Yeah.
with. You know what I mean? And we talked about Joe Thornton coming into San Jose. That's where guys like that help that. If you don't know and with the things that you're supposed to do, they're the kind of guys that you try to set up with, a mentor sort of kind of player. Again, I talk about that saying in Montreal, it's your time to start giving back, at some point. So,
Well, and you got a guy like Brendan Dillon, Kristy, who we're huge fans of. I would imagine that he's a guy that Tom Fitzgerald, Sheldon Keefe would want to be really imparting as much wisdom as he can for some of these young defensemen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that Brendan Dillon was paired with who he was paired with last season, whether it was Nemec, Seamus Casey, Dougie Hamilton. There was a reason that Brendan Dillon was the guy that was on the ice with them. And I heard Mike say, like, Brendan Dillon's a gem. He's absolutely incredible. And you couldn't really ask, I think, for a better veteran to help these young defensemen try and figure out their way.
Well, we have a lot more for you, but we have to do a quick ad break, so bear with us. We'll be right back with Kristy and a lot more next here on DLLS. And as Sam alluded to, let's give Luds the read and just have him go. Let's talk about being a diehard, because guess what? That diehard training camp for the NFL, Cowboys, all those other teams, but obviously around here, the Cowboys, is very much still in play. $36 for your first year of being a diehard. That's more than 50% off the annual rate of signing up for top-level access here at DLLS. And we're talking about all the writing that Sam does for the Stars, along with Sean, who's got some interesting ideas coming down the line, even though we're still in very much the dog days of the NHL offseason. Tim with the Mavs. Jeff Wilson with the Rangers, who won again last night against the Yankees. That was fun to watch, by the way. And, of course, Clarence, who's in Oxnard right now with the Cowboys training camp, as we are now just about 1 month away from the start of the NFL season. So get in now. You'll get the full year of coverage of the full NHL season and playoffs, full NBA season, all of the NFL season, and postseason for baseball and into middle of next season. Scan the QR code right there. When you sign up to be a diehard, you get your first year of your sign up. You get a free t-shirt of your choice. Could be this one. This is one of the classic DLS skyline with the horseshoe, because we're the Indianapolis Colts or something. And then we've got the Dallas collection. Sam's wearing one right now. It's the barbecue shirt. Here's the other ones for the Dallas collection. On the screen, you have the Nolan Ryan, Robin Ventura one that I love. I picked that one and I wore that. I'll probably wear it again. Probably have to wash it, though. I did take it to a baseball game last night.
Sweaty guy.
Yeah, well, it's indoors. It's in the 70s. It's pretty nice in there. Dallas versus all y'all that Luds has, the Mavericks hat look that looks like a Dallas Stars green a little bit. Then what Sam's wearing at the top, the amalgamation, which is that weird mascot. It's like a Dr. Frankenstein.
What was that
thing.
word?
Amalgamation.
What does that mean?
It means a combination of things. Yeah,
I
how
learned so
about
many
that?
words from you.
Thank you.
I should know more words.
It is definitely a non sequitur.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I should know these things, but I didn't go to journalism school.
My favorite
barely
thing
went
is
to regular
we bring
school.
Kristy back in. Sign up to be a diehard today. Use the QR code DLLS. Kristy, Sam constantly claims as a writer he doesn't know words, and I just don't know how to answer to that. So
I think for a lot of us, we're always on Google, like typing in a basic word and we're synonym for it. So we sound a little bit better in our articles.
Like, I can't say this word 18 times. I need
I give
something
Sean
else.
guff all the time because he's horrendous at pronouncing players' names, especially their last names, and butchers them. And if I'm around him too often, or if he's on the show, I feel like it permeates my brain. There's another $10 word.
Yeah, that was good. I know that one.
And I'm like, oh, you can't say it's Heiskanen. It's not Heiskanen or Haskinen or whatever somebody says. And he goes, I just have to spell it correctly. I don't have to be able to say
write it out.
Right?
Yeah, but then he doesn't.
And then he does. Yeah, well, that's a different story.
Do you guys mind if I ask her a guest
Please.
question?
Sluts,
Okay.
why
Hey,
don't you go?
Kristy. Listen, you mentioned Lindy's name a little earlier, and Lindy, to me, obviously been here in Dallas and has a little different coaching style at times for me. Fitzy goes out and he, like we talked about, he brings in Pesci, brings in Brendan Dillon. Now I think it's 3 or 4 year deal to Connor Brown. Do you see? And again, top 5 goals against team. Do you see maybe trying to change the identity of this team at all with some of the additions?
It seems like that when you say it when you say it like that. I think that Keefe's always going to want to do his quick transition game, but you look at a player like Nico Hischier. Nico offensively did so well this year, but defensively he has so many responsibilities. And when I was writing about Connor Brown, I kind of almost had a moment where I said, I wonder if Connor Brown is going to be put with Nico Hischier, just based on the defensive responsibilities that Connor Brown is used to doing in Edmonton and throughout his career. It's a good question, and I'm curious if that's going to kind of dictate how things. I mean, I think that they're always going to want to be a quick transition, team, but it's a good point that you bring up, especially with the additions that they have put in.
Unlike the other two, that's what I usually do.
We actually need to make a T-shirt for Leds that says "All I do is ask great questions."
I know. Let me know how that goes. Yeah, explain this to me.
What do you think about Evgenii Dadonov? We asked Mike this question too. He's a Dallas Star from the last 2.5 years. We have nothing but great things to say. He's a good guy. Although you didn't talk to him as much. I used to talk to him all the time in the dressing room. He's quiet but has interesting things to say, and he plays like I'm a fan of his game. He can play top six, but he's a hardworking, go into the corners kind of guy. Is that something that the Devils are missing?
When I looked at Dadonov, I'll be the first to admit I wasn't overly familiar with him. But my question with him is he going to end up playing himself into the top left winger with Jack and Jesper? That's my question, because I think, with Andre Palat, he has been the team's top left winger. And when you look at him against other left wingers in the league, there's a little bit of a discrepancy in the talent, just because Andre Palat is an older player a little bit. And I wonder if Dadonov, with coming off 20 goals, if he's going to end up in that position. That's the biggest question mark I have. Because I know that, Tom Fitzgerald went out for depth, but I could see a world where both Connor Brown and Dadonov end up in the top six.
Let me ask you two idiots this question. Not you, Kristy. So if Dadonov ends up being a top winger on that team,
at $1 million a year,
what does that look like here with a team that's supposed to have great offense?
What do you mean? Like,
what is that saying?
Well, I mean,
did you make him?
Yeah,
is that a miss?
I don't know. I mean, he played he played on the top line a little bit before Mikko. He played on the right a lot, right? Because he can play both sides.
Yeah.
But if he goes out there and scores 20 goals in New Jersey as a top left winger, you got to imagine that's a miss, because that's a super cheap deal they could have that would fit into this role, instead of us talking about Oscar Beck and Sam Steele as potential fits in there.
Why don't you ask Kristy?
Kristy, I was looking at this. We'll turn to her. I'm thinking, what do you think about our Plano-native, Stefan Noesen? Because I'm a fan of his game, but Dadonov likes to be as a left shot coming off the right a lot. And I'm sitting there looking at Timo Meier and Palat going, I don't see how he pushes either one of those out of your top two lines. Is it a chance more to maybe move Noesen down, unless you like him up there?
I think Noesen is fine with Nico and Timo. Again, I think for the Devils, you want to see Andre Palat potentially on that third line, because he in New Jersey had put up 15 goals and 11 goals. So Dadonov already has scored more goals than Palat. So why wouldn't you try him with your two best offensive playmakers? At least not try it. But Noesen, I think Noesen would probably fit better on a third line role, but I don't see like a huge issue with him being on a second line role with Nico, especially when Nico's line is used as that shutdown line. But Noesen's great. Noesen adds something to that locker room and to the ice that the Devils were missing. He's physical. He's great net front on the power play. Fantastic on the power play for the Devils. He's great.
I'd love you just said this. Could you see Connor Brown maybe sneaking it? If you put Noesen and Palat on the third line with Mercer, then suddenly you've got Dadonov and Brown in your top six. That's interesting.
I think there's a world that isn't complete. It might sound crazy now as I say it, but when I really thought about it and seeing how much defensive responsibilities Connor Brown is so used to dealing with, and knowing how Sheldon Keefe uses Nico, and how he said, even with Timo, if he's playing with Nico, there's defensive responsibilities that he's just going to have to accept. And I'm just wondering if Connor Brown might see himself on that line at one point or another.
Talked a lot
depending on matchups and things like that, but I don't think it's completely out of the question.
Talked a lot about Jack Hughes with Mike, so I'm not going to ask you any more about him. But one thing he was talking about was how good Hughes and Bratt are together. And I remember when I was there, it was really fun to watch them playing with whoever they were with. When Timo's up there or whoever, it just seemed to work flawlessly. Jack just needs to stay healthy. But is Jesper Bratt one of the more underrated players in the NHL? It's
so funny because I feel like there's been such a campaign that he is not anymore, that people are starting to see how good Jesper Bratt is. And he's been so consistent. That's the thing. I think when you look at forwards in New Jersey, I think you have to say Bratt's been the most consistent over the past couple of years. As long as I've been covering the team, I think he's been, that line that, you always know what you can get from him. But yeah, they're so dynamic together. And even looking at the team as a whole, I don't think that anybody has chemistry on the Devils the way that Jack and Jesper do.
Okay, I have one more question about the Devils, and then we have to ask you about the Stars because that's part of our bit here. What are the odds? I looked at the salary cap space that the Devils have and go, oh, there's something there. Then you realize that Luke Hughes doesn't have a contract yet. What are the odds that this thing gets done before the season starts? Is there any concern that this thing goes into the year or training camp, or do you think that deadlines are going to make this deal?
I think the only thing I wonder about is that Luke Hughes has the same agent as Dawson Mercer. And we all know that Mercer's contract was not completed by the first day of training camp. So that's kind of the only thing I wonder about, is if this one's going to be a repeat of Mercer where he's going to miss the first couple of days of training camp. I don't think it should, but that's just my opinion. I don't really know. But I wouldn't be overly surprised if training camp is around the corner and Luke's not signed.
So Luds, we always talk about, he's a big fan of pointing out how distractions can be really bad for a team. He's not a fan of distractions. Was the Mercer thing a distraction last year? Would Hughes be a distraction for this team starting camp this year, do you think?
I don't know if it was a distraction. When I asked Tom Fitzgerald about Dawson during his free agency development camp availability, he made a comment that said, with Dawson, there might have been a conditioning issue because he missed the start of training camp. So I think maybe there might be something. But I don't think it's going to be a huge distraction because everyone knows Luke is getting signed. Everyone knows Luke is going to be a member of the Devils. At this point, it's just a matter of when that's going to happen.
All right. So we are almost out of time. But before we do, I do want to ask, I want to ask her something else, but we don't have time for it.
We never have enough time.
I was going to ask her about the Quinn Hughes rumors down the road and stuff, all that nonsense. But no, tell us about what your take is of the Dallas Stars. This isn't put you against the wall and say stuff or pop quiz or anything, but how do you see the Dallas Stars from an outsider's perspective covering the Devils all the time?
I think they're a top 5 team in the league. I think this is a team that is more for me, like in a win now before there's going to be that couple years transition for the young talent. I think they're a really good team. And I'm surprised they actually didn't go further this past season in the playoffs.
Do you have anybody that you could take off of the Stars? If you could take one roster player, or forget about salary cap, and put it on the Devils, who would it be?
I mean, the most common answer has to be Robertson. But I also love Wyatt Johnston. I would probably pluck Wyatt. But
interesting.
I think
It's funny that
the sake of the fan base, we'll go with Jason Robertson.
it's so funny that that's like the third person that said that, and meanwhile the Stars fan base is kicking Jason Robertson.
They shouldn't, but yeah, that's crazy.
So, Kristy, would you take Dougie Hamilton over, I don't know, Miro Heiskanen?
I like 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Or I would just.
Yeah.
I would take Miro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would too. Yeah. Let's just want to make sure we were all still sane, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering who someone's got to say we're going to take Mikko at some point, right? We're just about 6 or 7 teams into our 31 team bit. So, Kristy, unfortunately, we are out of time, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we apologize. And anybody that knows Sam already, we tend to feel a little sympathy for. So we appreciate that and your hardship. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Kristy.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I hope it was okay for you.
It was fantastic. There she goes. Kristy Flannery, the beat writer for the Devils for the Hockey News, as things wrap up here on the show. And we have about 60 seconds, which is planned instead of running over for Kat today.
Kat left already.
If you're a Devil, I'll ask you guys this. If you're a Dallas Stars fan or coverage, is there somebody on the Devils you would take and put on the Stars roster right now?
Jesper Bratt.
I answered.
Over Hughes?
Yes.
Why?
Only because of Jack's injuries.
Because he only plays half a season most of the time.
It was Jack Hughes. If he plays 80 games, Jack Hughes is the answer. But he's so consistent. She said it perfectly. And he led the team in points 2 years
do we
in a row.
need to get smaller?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm not saying Jesper Bratt's a monster, But I'm saying Jack Hughes is not
He
quite
plays
a
a
monster.
little differently.
And he
than
plays,
Hughes,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
We don't probably need him in the lineup, but I wouldn't mind taking Brendan Dillon back either. Even now,
Great.
it'd be fun to have him on
It is
there.
funny to think about, like, the way they were describing Dillon. He is just exactly what Lutz wants this team to have.
You know what I want? I
that
want
they
Brendan
had him let
Dillon.
go again.
Yeah.
That's right-handed.
Oh, it'd be great.
That would be perfect.
Be great.
Right? I'd love to see Dillon play with Haskin and put a right shot on that side. So, oh well. Okay, that's it for today. Lutz is gone tomorrow and Friday, but Sean will be here as we have a fun guest lineup tomorrow. Columbus Blue Jackets Day. Aaron Portzline, the great Aaron Portzline of The Athletic that covers the Blue Jackets, and from their TV broadcast, their TV analyst, Jody Shelley, will be joining us for tomorrow's show. That's at 2 o'clock Central Time. Should be a blast. Big thank you to Mike Morreale of the NHL.com and Kristy Flannery of the Hockey News. For Luds, for Sam, for Katya, I'm Owen. Have a great rest of your hump day. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.